Hello everybody, it's that college football guy here, another video. Oh yeah, I was gonna crank out a bunch of videos, right? I'm gonna get all these ones done this weekend. Done them on Saturday. Well, life happened. Life happened in the form of food poisoning. Yeah, after I did the last video, started getting nauseous. Next thing you know, I spent a couple hours last night and a few more this morning worshiping the porcelain throne. Not a fun way. But things are a little bit better now, and I'm the point. I think I have an IV drip of Pepto Bismol at this point. But we're gonna work on get these done for you, folks. All right, so we're talking about the Sun Belt Conference. Now, so we have no subscriber schools in the Sun Belt. I'm gonna crank these out. Like I said, we do notifications and notes on when there's subscriber schools. And even then, though, the Big 12, Big 10, y'all gonna be a little bit close because there's a lot of subscriber schools in both conferences. All right, but let's get into this here regarding the Sun Belt Conference. We're going to start off with Eastern Division because the Sun Belt still has divisions. So it's going to be East Division champ versus West Division champ. East Division, we have Appalachian State doing each division in alphabetical order. Appalachian State start off their season home against Gardner Webb. They're going to get the dub. Then they go on the road at North Carolina. Yeah, that's a loss. Only about a lot of the games here are like coin flips, so I'm just going to bust through this because a lot of these games could have gone either way based upon who was at home. So it's just going to be basically who was at home almost gets the win almost every time. Home against East Carolina, they're going to get a win. At Wyoming, that's a loss. At ULM, that's a win. Home against Coastal, big win. They would have been on the road. They would have lost that one. So then they get the bye. 6 in front, 6 after. Comes out of the bye at Old Dominion to get the win. Home against Southern Miss, get the win. Home against Marshall, get the win. At Georgia State, get the loss. At James Madison, you're going to get the loss, unfortunately. Been home, they probably would have won. Home against Georgia Southern, get the win. So that makes them 8-4, 6-2 in conference. Next is Coastal Carolina, the Eastern Division champion from last year. They start off the season at UCLA. Yikes, that's a loss. Home against Jacksonville State, that's a win. Home against Duquesne, that's a win. Home against Georgia State, that's a win. Home at Georgia Southern, that's a win. At Appalachian State, I just mentioned they've been home, they would have won, but they were on the road, so they get the loss. At Arkansas State, they get the win. Home against Marshall. Marshall's going to surprise some people, and I'm picking Marshall to upset Coastal Carolina at home on the road. Marshall wins on the road. Coastal Carolina loses at home. At Old Dominion, there's a win. Home against Texas State, that's a win. Then they get the bye week. Out of the bye week against Army on the road, they're going to get a win. And then home against James Madison, they're going to get the win. Like I said, on the road, they probably got lost. That puts them at 9-3, 6-2 in conference. Now we got next Georgia Southern. Starts out the season at home against the Citadel. They get a win. They get their season home against UAB. And UAB, remember, has Trent Dilfer as the new head coach, and they're going to have some growing pains. And the Georgia Southern's going to beat UAB at home. At Wisconsin, yeah, that's a big loss. At Ball State, this could be a coin flip game, but I'm going to pick because Ball State's going to be somewhat good in the MAC, but I'm going to give them Georgia Southern a loss there. Home against Coastal Carolina, that's a loss. Then they get the bye, 5 in front, 7 after. At James Madison, that's a loss. Home against ULM, that's a win. Home against Georgia State, that's a win. At Texas State, that's a win. At Marshall, that's a loss. At home, you would have gotten the win, but it's a loss. Home against Old Dominion, that's a win. And at Appalachian State, yeah, that's a loss. So they finished 6-6, 4-4 in conference. Next is Georgia State in the East, who starts off the season at home against FCS Rhode Island. They get the win. Home against UConn. On the road, they probably would have lost this game. Since they're at home and giving them the win. At Charlotte, yeah, that's a win. At Coastal Carolina, big loss. Home against Troy, that's a loss. Then they get the bye, so that's 5 in front, 7 after. Home against Marshall, that's a loss. Here. At Louisiana, that's a loss. At Georgia Southern, that's a loss. Home against James Madison, that's a loss. Home against Appalachian State, I think they're going to pull off the upset and beat them because they're at home. At LSU, how bad are you going to lose that one? And then at Old Dominion, I think because of the fact that you got beat up so bad by LSU and the Old Dominion's bad, you're going to lose to Old Dominion because you're not going to be able to recover from the loss from LSU. Puts you at 5-7, 2-6 in conference. Next is James Madison. James Madison starts off the season at home against FCS Bucknell. They get the win. Then they go on the road at Virginia. That's a loss. On the road at Troy. Another loss. At Utah State, most of the time I will pick teams cross country to lose, but James Madison's got more talent than Utah State, so I'm picking James Madison for the win, even though it's cross country. Home against South Alabama, that's a win. Then there's the bye, 5 in front, 7 after. Home against Georgia Southern, that's a win. At Marshall, that's a loss. Home against Old Dominion, that's a win. At Georgia State, that's a win. Did I forget to write it down? Yeah, I did. Home against UConn, that's going to be a win. Home against Appalachian State, that's a win. At Coastal Carolina, that's a loss. That puts them at 8-4, 5-3 in conference. Only one loss in non-con play, and that's against Troy. Not bad. All right. Now we go against Marshall. Let's see. Marshall starts off the season home against FCS Albany, get the win. At East Carolina, that's a loss. Then they get the bye. How about early? 2 in front, 10 after. Not good. All right. Home against Virginia Tech, that's an L. Home against Old Dominion, they get a win. At NC State, that's a loss. At Georgia State, you're going to lose there, unfortunately, on the road. Home against James Madison, you get the win. At Coastal Carolina, you're going to pull off a huge upset. I think Coastal Carolina's going to underestimate Marshall and pay the price for it. At Appalachian State, that's a loss. Home against Georgia Southern, that's a win. At South Alabama, that's a loss. And home against Arkansas State to finish up the year, you get the win. That puts you at 6-6, 5-3 in conference. Now, Old Dominion out of the East. Old Dominion's going to have a rough year. At Virginia Tech, that's a loss. Home against Louisiana, they're going to pull off the upset and beat Louisiana at home. Home against Wake Forest, that's an L. Home against Texas A&M Commerce, that's a win. At Marshall, that's a loss. At Southern Miss, that's a loss. Then they get the bye, so that puts them at 6 in front, 6 after. Home against Appalachian State, that's a loss. At James Madison's an L. Home against Coastal Carolina is an L. At Liberty is an L. At Georgia Southern is an L. And home against Georgia State, they're going to pull off the win. So that puts them at 3-9, 1-7 in conference. Now it comes time for the Western Division. We're talking about, start off with Arkansas State, who starts their season on the road at Oklahoma. Shoosh, that's a big L. Home against home against Memphis, that's an L. Home against FCS Stony Brook, that's a win. Home against Southern Miss, that's a win. At UMass, that's a win. At Troy, big loss. Then they get the bye, so that's 6 in front, 6 after. Home against Coastal Carolina, that's a loss. At ULM, I think you're going to lose to ULM. You're going to kind of be looking ahead because Louisiana's been a rough team for you to play over the years. There's still some lingering rivalry because of Billy Napier, so you still want to beat up on Louisiana. But you're going to overlook ULM and you're going to lose for it. You're going to home Louisiana. They're going to get the win. At South Alabama, get the loss. Home against Texas State, big win. And at Marshall, get the loss to finish at 5-7, 3-5 in conference. Now we got the aforementioned Louisiana. Starts out the season at home against FCS Northwestern State. They get the win. At Old Dominion, get the win. At UAB, they're going to lose the game because, as I said, it's on the road. It's a big loss there. Home against Buffalo, they get the win. At Minnesota, yeah, they're going to lose that one. Home against Texas State, they get the win. Then there's the bye. So that's 6 in front of the bye, 6 after. Come out of the bye at home against Georgia State, get the win. At South Alabama is a loss. At Arkansas State is a loss. Home against Southern Miss, you're going to get a big win there. At Troy, you're going to lose, but you're going to finish up the season beating ULM at home to finish at 6-6, 4-4 in conference. Now we go to South Alabama, who had their first winning season in school history last year. How are they going to follow it up? Well, start off the season on the road at Tulane. What a way to start. As a loss. Home against FCS Southeastern Louisiana, they get the win. At Oklahoma State, that's a loss. Home against Central Michigan, you're going to get the win. At James Madison, that's a loss. At ULM, you'll get the win. Then there's your bye, so it's 6 in front, 6 after. Come out of the bye at home against Southern Miss, you get a win. And you get a win against Louisiana at home. But you go on the road to Troy, that's a loss. And you finish the season on 3 straight wins. Home against Arkansas State, home against Marshall, and at Texas State to finish the season at 8-4, 6-2 in conference. Then comes Southern Miss, who comes in the season, starts off their season at home against Alcorn State. They get the win. Then they go on the road at Florida State. That's a loss. Then they go home against Tulane. Doesn't matter. That's a loss. At Arkansas State, guess what? You're going to lose that one too. But the back-to-back wins against two of the worst teams in the Sun Belt, Texas State and Old Dominion, you're going to beat them both. Then go to the bye. Come out of the bye at South Alabama. That's a loss. At Appalachian State, you're going to pull off an upset and get the win. You're going to pull off a big, huge win. Home against ULM, you're going to get the win. But then, at Louisiana, you're going to lose that game. You're going to go at Mississippi State and get run over. But somehow, some way, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm double-checking, making sure I wrote this right because I did this kind of, in a huge upset, you're going to beat Troy to finish the season at 6-6, 5-3 in conference. Now comes the aforementioned Texas State. One of the two worst teams in the conference. So, they start off the road on season at Baylor. Yeah, huge L. Home against UTSA, another huge L. Home against Jackson State, you're going to get the win. Home against Nevada, you're going to lose. At Southern Miss, you're going to lose. At Louisiana, you're going to lose, but you're going to beat ULM at home. Then you're going to get a bye, so it's 7 in front, 5 after. Home against Troy, loss. Home against Georgia Southern, loss. At Coastal Carolina, loss. At Arkansas State, loss. And then finish the season at home against South Alabama, another L. To finish the season at 2-10, 1-7 in conference. Now defending champions Troy. They start off the season at home against Stephen F. Austin. They get a win. Then they go on the road at Kansas State. That's going to be a loss and a tough one. Home against James Madison. They get a win. Home against Western Kentucky, they get a win. Sorry about that, folks. At Georgia State, they get the win. Home against Arkansas State, they get the win. At Army, they get the win. Then they get the bye. 7 in front of the bye, 5 after. Home against Texas State, they get the win. Home against South Alabama, they get the win. At ULM, they get the win. And then they're going to fall apart at the end. I think they're going to have some injury concerns and some injury problems. But they're going to beat Louisiana at home and get upset by Southern Miss on the road this season at 10-2, 7-1 in conference. Now comes the aforementioned ULM, the other worst team in the conference. Home against Army, doesn't matter. Army's a lot better than you think they are. You get a loss there. Home against Lamar from FCS, you get the win. At Texas A&M, huge loss. Then you get the bye. 3 in front, 9 after. Not going to do you any favors. Come out of the bye at home against Appalachian State. Home against South Alabama, at Texas State, and at Georgia Southern. 4 straight L's. You come out of it at home against Arkansas State and get a big win. And then you lose 4 straight again. At Southern Miss, home against Troy, at Ole Miss, and at Louisiana. Not exactly a fun 4 at the end of the year. To finish at 2-10, 1-7 in conference. So now, what does this hold? I'm making sure I got everything down here real quick as I do this video. Making sure I didn't, because I think I missed one game on one schedule, and I'm backtracking as I do this and talk to you at the same time. Yeah, I was right. Okay, so Eastern Division standings. We'll go from the bottom to the top. Old Dominion is 1-7, 3-9 overall, 1-7 in conference. Georgia State 5-7 overall, 2-6 in conference. Georgia Southern 6-6 overall, 4-4 in conference. Marshall 6-6 overall, 5-3 in conference. James Madison 8-4 overall, 5-3 in conference. Coastal Carolina 9-3 overall, 6-2 in conference. Appalachian State 8-4 in all, 6-2 in conference. But App State wins the East because they beat Coastal Carolina. Now we go to the Western Division. At the bottom, 2 schools the same record, the 2 worst from the conference. ULM and Texas State, both 2-10, 1-7 in conference. Then Arkansas State, 5-7, 3-5 in conference. Then Louisiana, 6-6, 4-4 in conference. Southern Miss, 6-6, 5-3 in conference. South Alabama's 8-4, 6-2 in conference. And Troy is 10-2, 7-1 in conference, which sets up Troy against Appalachian State for the Sun Belt Championship. I think it's going to be close. This will be at Troy because the home team hosts, and I'm picking Troy. Excuse me. I'm picking Troy to win the Sun Belt again. Kind of front running in some people's minds, but that's what I'm picking. That's what I'm calling right now. Though, why don't you let me know your thoughts down in the comments. So thanks everybody for watching the video. Like I said, I apologize for not doing as many, but unfortunately being sick sucks. So if you haven't done already, please smash the like button, hit the thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm, helps the video be seen by more people. Comment on the video, tell me what you think about my Sunbelt predictions. And if you haven't done already, please subscribe to the channel. We're getting up to 500 subscribers slowly and surely, on the way to 1,000, so we can make some things happen. So thanks everybody for watching. Hope everybody's having a great Saturday evening. Be safe out there as my cats talk to me. And please, be good to each other.